Hey everyone, let's continue on with our monthly, our October, Tangles. It's Monday and my brain is not functioning very well right now, but it's Monday. Let's see, you're going to see this on Columbus Day. And yeah, we're doing viewer favorites and viewer challenges this month. And I thought I would tackle this. It's a complex subject where it says all grids, because, you know, all grids, that's not one pattern. That's all grids. Well, I obviously can't do all grids. That would be ridiculous. There's hundreds of them, maybe even thousands of grid patterns. But what I can do is talk a little bit about how to alleviate your fears around grid patterns. Some people just don't like them. I didn't like them at first. They're not my favorites most of the time because I am a flowy, organic kind of gal, right? Let me turn off this so I can do this. I've got to remind you, because it's Monday, that I'm always working off of the Pattern Collections website, pattern-collections.com. It is the ultimate pattern collection. Let me tell you, thousands and thousands of patterns on here, and all at no charge to you. But Ina does have a PayPal button available. If you have an extra couple bucks and you want to make a donation to Ina to help keep those website running, she would really appreciate it. I know that it is extraordinarily expensive to run the website. Every time that there's a click, she has to pay a fee, and look at how many clicks there are. 7,023,048. So she has had to pay for 7 million viewers to this page. And, you know, even if they were only a penny a view or a half a penny a view, that's still a lot of money. So if you could make a donation, that would be awesome. And speaking of donations, I'm going to continue to leave a link for the suicide prevention walk that I'm going to be part of in the description box below. See the video that went up on the 9th for more information. Anyways, that's the first thing. Second thing is, for grids, if you go into, you know, we usually end up going into pattern focus, or I type in the name of a pattern and that's what I look for. And so you usually aren't perusing the website. The website is a plethora of information. So if you want to learn more about grids, click on here, the little hamburger thing, and you can go by framework. And then right here, you can go to grids. And there are 3 main kinds of grids. There's the regular, you know, tic-tac-toe type of grid-based. There's hexagonal grids, and there are circular grids. Most people, when they think of grids, they're thinking of the regular, you know, tic-tac-toe type of grid. And then there are all the grid-based patterns, starting with, I think they're alphabetical, starting with 25, anything that's got a number in it as the name, and scrolling and scrolling, and oops, I've overdone. There's the B's, there's the C's, C's, still C's. I'm just letting you know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of patterns. We're still in the letter C. Oh, we've moved it to the letter D. I mean, just pages and pages and pages. There's letter E. You know, you get my point here, right? Lots and lots and lots and lots of grid-based patterns. So rather than pick a particular pattern today, I was thinking about talking about the grid journey. If you go into the search and you search for grid journey, I actually searched for grid journey number 1. Okay, that's what I searched for. And you get this. There are a couple of grid journeys when you get that, do that search. You get advanced grid journey part 1. Don't go there yet. You get the one in German. That's great if you need it in German. There is Grid Journey Lesson 1. That's where I want you to start. There are other results that come up with grid journeys, but I believe the regular grid journey lessons go to lesson number 12 or 13. But if you start here, click on this read more, you'll go to grid journey lesson 1. And this is where Ina breaks down grids and all about how to learn how to do grid-based patterns, and about the individual blocks and how to turn the blocks, and how, see, this pattern is drawn as a 4-block square, but the actual pattern itself is this in 1 block. And she explains how it looks different if you turn based on just putting this, that's the grid seed, and putting it in 1 block going different directions. Here is what happens when you put the letter A in a block, all going one way. Here's what happens when you do it every other one, flipping them around. Here's what happens when you do 2 together and then flip it and then do 2 together. This is what happens when you do them all 4 different directions. This is what happens when you just do every other one. There's all sorts of different ways you can do your grids. So here it is. Let's see. Use the practice sheets that she provides, or just draw your own. Use this pattern and try it all those different ways. And you get different things using the same exact pattern, flip different directions. And this really, if you go one by one, starting with lesson number 1 and going all the way through 12 or 13, you will get a really good lesson and grasp on how grids work and how you can change them to make them your own. And when you get down toward the end and you're going into those advanced grid journeys, you start talking about grids that are not standard shapes. You start talking about, let's take this shape here, it's a template shape, and add a grid to it. And then you end up with that. Is just, it tells you how to put a grid into an oddball shape. And then you can put your pattern in that. Just so many possibilities that for those of us who don't like grids per se, the straight, even, easy to do, you know, tic-tac-toe, boring, to me they're kind of boring grids. If we put them into an interesting shape, they all of a sudden become organic and flowy and more to our style, for those of us who are less, you know, grid-like, that's not our thing. So what I thought I would do is just take, I don't even think that this is a pattern that has a name, but I thought I would just take, let me do this on this little scrap piece of paper. I thought I was going to make like a grid square, okay? And I'm just going to go across diagonally, and on one side I'm just going to fill it up like that. That's all I'm going to do. It might have a name. I don't know if it has a name, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do anything hard or complicated, but what I am going to do is I'm going to find an interesting shape to put my grid into. So I do kind of like that kind of swirly thing that happened there, or maybe a bulbous shape. Let's try something. This piece of paper is a rectangle. It's approximately 6.5, 4.5 by 6.5 approximately. And I think on this end and this end, I'm not going to get too carried away, but I think at this end and this end, I'm going to do like that. And then maybe make a sort of a vase-like shape. Let's do that. See, that's kind of organic. Yeah, they don't have to match, right? No, as a matter of fact, you know, probably be better is if I don't match it. Let's do it this way. Let me turn it around and do that same kind of bulby shape coming this way. And a bulby shape more down at this end. So I've got more of a bulb here and more of a bulb there. Oop. That way it doesn't look like I tried to make it the same shape, that it's obviously not the same shape. Not as much of a curve. Something like that. Okay, so now I've got this weird shape, and I'm going to make a grid in it. And so in order to make a grid in it, I'm going to do what Ina suggests first, and put a line down the middle, and then divide this into however many pieces I think I want. I think I just want 2, like that. Oops, a little bit too close here. A little bit further apart. So it's sort of a gourd looking shape, right? Kind of. Okay, let's go with that. And then let's go with sort of a middle line here. And I'm going to kind of curve them this way, going this way, and then kind of going this way. We're going to curve them that way. And there we go. Now I've got a grid that's a non-standard grid, an interesting shape, more organic. I think I'm going to play with color a little bit, and so I think I am going to make this grid blue. I don't know that I've ever made a grid in a color before. I don't want that glue. Let's use this Sharpie. I don't often use Sharpie. We're just gonna have fun. So let's make this grid in a blue Sharpie, which is gonna look kind of green on this paper because of the paper, and that's okay too. Just gonna follow that. General shape doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to go like that. And like this. And like this. And like that. The one thing she does say is to try to make sure that you can still draw in your smaller grid pieces. Don't make them all the way down to a point. That makes it hard to draw into. Sometimes I will do that, and then I'll find that, you know, I'll just fill that in with a solid color because you really can't draw in there, and that's okay. I don't usually draw a blue grid. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever drawn a blue grid. At least not on this channel. Okay, and then I'm just going to draw lines. Do I want to continue with green? Do I want to make a color? Shall I do purple? Purple's going to look black. Pink? Let's do pink. Why not? And shall we do the grid? Here's my scrap page. Shall we do them all going one direction? Like that. Like that. Or should we turn them so that they end up like this? What should I do? I think I'm going to keep it like that. Let's do it just simple. Here we go. So I'm just going to go corner to corner. So what I'm trying to say here is that yes, there are going to be some grid patterns that are more challenging than others. But if you understand the mechanics of grids, you'll be less intimidated by them, and you'll be able to break them down into their parts better. And once you understand each part, each little square is not necessarily difficult, then that's a good thing. And then once I understood that I didn't have to be constrained to the type of grid that the designer used. If the designer used an evenly spaced regular square grid, which is 90% of them, I was not constrained to that. And once I got to that realization that I wasn't constrained to that shape, and I could make it whatever shape I wanted and then put a grid in it, I became a much happier person with doing grid patterns. And then over the years, I've gotten better at going into the standard grid shape. You know, we just recently did several grid-based patterns, and I didn't have any problems with it. You know, like just a couple of days ago, we did this one, regular square-shaped pattern. But I could do this one, not going to, but I could do this one on a less regular grid, and it would be fine. Same thing with, let's see, what do I have up here that's a grid-based? This one that was some time ago, bridge. That's a grid-based, regular grid-based pattern. But it's good to know that you can, if you want, change it up. And if that will alleviate some of your stress about grids, that's good to know, right? Got a fuzz. Where'd that fuzz come from? I don't know. There should be no fuzzes in here. I have no critters, so I should have no like cat fur or anything. If you have a studio animal that likes to be with you in your studio, let me know. I'm not against pets. I love pets. We have just chosen, after our last pets passed, we made a conscious decision that we were going to do more traveling, and that our lifestyle wasn't really conducive to pets at the moment. And so we chose not to replace our pets. We had 2 dogs and a cat. The dogs were brother and sister from the same litter. And so because they were the same age, they passed basically at the same time. The cat did not. The cat lasted a little bit longer, but she too was about the same age as the dogs. We had the dogs first, and then we had the cat, and the cat came to us as an abandoned newborn kitten, so not exactly newborn, but still pretty small. She was pretty tiny. She fit in the palm of my hand very easily, and I don't have a very big hand. So the dogs raised her. She thought those dogs were her parents. She was more dog-like than cat-like because she had no example of cats, but she had dogs. So she was very territorial of our yard, and she would, if we took the dogs for a walk, she would follow along behind us about maybe 100 feet and just go around the block with us. She was hilarious. But anyway, she passed not long after the dogs did. So we've been petless for a number of years now. And I do miss having a pet. There are many days where it's like, oh, I really wish I had a critter to cuddle up to. They're very therapeutic. But at the same time, I know that right now we are not in a place to take care of pets. Pets take a lot of care, and you have to be wise pet owners. And if you know that you really can't take care of one properly, you shouldn't have one. And so that's where we've decided that we just don't have the time or the energy to properly care for a pet. We're away from home too often. Well, at least that was the plan before, 2020 happened. But we still, once things have settled down, and we are very hopeful that that will be sooner than later, that travel will happen again. And the whole having to get pet sitter and all of that, it's just, and the expense. Pets are not cheap if you take care of them properly. There's grooming, there's feed, there's vet bills, and if you're taking care of your pet properly, they can be pricey, and that's another thing we don't have. We do not have the extra money to properly take care of an animal, and so we've chosen not to. But I love them, and I love watching them. I watch more than one YouTuber who has pet channels. I think they are just fun. Watch dogs and cats, and even a lady who has miniature horses. All of them fun to watch. I can't do the pet vet shows. I'm just not, I'm too squeamish. But if you have a studio pet, tell me about your pet in the description or in the comments, because I'd like to know. Do you have a kitty that likes to just sit on your work? When I had my kitty, she liked to sit like right, she would be right here with her tail like all over what I'm trying to draw. Crazy cat. That would be where she would be. Absolutely. See, that ended up a weird shape. But that's where it went. This is the corner, and that's the other corner. So it ended up a kind of a strange shape, but I'm okay with it. Growing up, we had cats and dogs and rabbits and a duck. And I don't think we had hamsters. My friends had hamsters. My sister is a pet magnet, and she's the one that would come home and, Mom, I found this kitty in the bushes. Can we keep it? No. Go back and find where the kitty belongs. It probably belongs to somebody. You can't keep the kitty. But anyway. See? See how easy this is? Now I'm deciding what I want to do with it. Do I want to? I'm going to add a little shading along there. Why? I don't know. It's where I've decided to put it. You could decide to put striping in there. I'm just showing you that, you know, this is not a particular pattern, but I do encourage you to go find those grid journeys. Find grid journey number 1. Just type that into the search bar and follow through. Even if you don't draw them all, read the lessons, because they're very, very valuable lessons. Those were well thought out. Ina has put in a lot of effort into the lesson plans that she's got on the CPT journeys. You know, explore that part of the website. You may never have been there before, but it's really awesome. And you will probably learn something you didn't know before. And then you can play. You can start playing with, just take one pattern that you like that really hasn't been your challenge pattern. Pick one that's an easy one for you, and then explore that pattern and make it your own, you know. But I think once you've gotten a grasp on grids and the various different kinds of grids and the way you can change a grid, that you don't have to follow exactly the grid, and knowing that you don't have to follow exactly the pattern either. I mean, if there are parts of the pattern you don't like or you are finding challenging, just don't put them in. Nothing says that you have to follow the step out exactly. It's just a guide. You know, it's your artwork. Do whatever you want. If it doesn't speak to you, if it doesn't float your boat, you know, don't use it. I often will do a pattern and I get to a maybe step 2 or step 3 and go, you know, I like it just like that. I don't want to add more to it. I don't want to change it. And so then I don't. All right. I actually like the shape. I think I like it kind of sideways. I think I like the shape like that. You know, I drew it like this. That's the way I drew it to me. But I kind of like it like that. I often will do that. I will look up on the screen, and unless it's a pattern where there's an obvious upright, I will turn it around and around until I figure out which way I want it to live. And then that's the way I put it when I sign it and put the name. Because once I sign it and put the name, then, you know, then it's living a particular direction. But, and this is I'm going to put Grid Journey 1 because I want you to start with Grid Journey 1 and work your way through that grid journey, and you will find many valuable lessons there. All right, you guys have a great day. Do something nice for someone today. Links for the fundraiser is in the description below, and I will see you on the next video. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.